And good evening po sa ating lahat. Let's continue our discussion about ethics. Of course, we already have learned the variety of morals, the values or human values that we have and we are developing in ourselves, our characteristics. Now, we are going to learn naman po the ethics or in some other sources or references engineering ethics po yung tinatackle. But of course, since our course is not only focused on actually we are in aviation, but of course, mas maganda po na malaman din natin ang ethics in all industries and disciplines. Okay? So, in our overview ng ating topic, the ethics ay in this activity, our aim is that we're going to understand the moral values and these values will be our guide in our profession and or in our practice. Another thing is that we have to resolve moral issues in our disciplines, like in engineering, in aviation, okay? And also, we are going to justify the moral judgment and we have to deal with moral problems and issues connecting to our or connected to our career or profession. Okay. So here po, we have scopes in engineering ethics. So in this one, not only in engineering ethics or in other yung professional ethics na term. In this, the scope is that we're going to learn the ethics of the workplace, which involves co-workers and employees in an organization. Ethics related to the product or work, o kung ano po yung ginagawa natin sa organization, if we are into producing or manufacturing goods or we're into service, na may kinalaman in transportation, warehousing, the use of the systems, aside from the safety of the end product and the environment outside the factory or in our organization. Now we have two approaches in studying ethics. The first one here is microethics. Pag sinabi nating microethics, we are dealing with the decisions and problems of individuals, professionals, and companies. Okay? So microethics, the problems of individuals, professionals, and companies. While macroethics naman deals with the societal problems or in national or regional level. For example, some of our topics in microethics are global issues, collective responsibilities of different groups, such as professional societies and consumer groups. So, in these two approaches, makikita po natin yung differences ng mga iba't ibang issues na kinakaharap. No, kapag microethics, like what are the issues na kinakaharap ng isang individual habang siya ay nasa isang organisasyon. Sa macroethics naman, we are dealing with the problems of or global issues such as in environment or in the professional societies like in the group of engineers, group of aviators, group of tourism managers. So such groups, that is our way or approach on how to study ethics. Okay. Now, we have variety of moral issues, categorized in three. This variety of moral issues, it would be relevant to know why and how these moral issues or problems arise in our profession. So if these moral issues arise, why do individuals behave unethically? Okay? So halimbawa, meron tayong mga issues such as in terms of harassment, those are or sexual harassment in our profession. Why do individuals behave unethically? So we have three categories here. Why employer and employees behave unethically. The first one is the resource crunch. When we talk about resource crunch, no, some of employees or workers, no, they experience or face challenges such as pressure, like time limits, or another is about availability of budgets and technological decay or obsolescence. So this pressure, no, it's either from the government or from your boss, from the management, no. This will cause us to have some decision makings reflecting interactions that has something to do behaving unethically. So individuals know, like employees, we often develop some of these actions, or these companies develop policies that will allow individuals to do their thing or do or follow, but in terms of so that unethical behavior will not reflect or prevent unethical results. So we have these pressures, we have these um, problems in terms of system. Now, so that employees or individuals will not behave unethically, the answer to it is forming policies, you know, and these policies will be able to prevent unethical results. Second one, that another reason for individuals or employees behave unethically is the opportunity. So some employees will not follow the policies regarding the resignation, the um in terms of the opportunities that comes, that will make these employees decide or make decisions which will reflect on their unethical behavior. So in management, some organizations overemphasize short-term gains. As a result, no, the expense is, of course, themselves, no, at the expense of themselves and the others. So most of the time, these short-term goals do not reflect or gain long-term benefits. Okay, so most of these short-term goals are at the expense of the employees. Now, some employees will behave unethically when they felt or when they are into the dilemma of following the management or the rules of the management or not. No, so management by objectives without focus of empowerment and improvement of the infrastructure and labor force will end up on their employees to behave unethically. Okay, what do we mean by that? With these opportunities for the organizations which are short term, they might be blinded by the opportunity. Now, nakakalimutan na mag-focus sa empowerment among the employees because nagfo-focus lang sa kung yung agarang opportunity, yung agarang kita ng isang organization. So, madalas kawawa ang mga empleyado dito. So, most of the time they're not following standards, right? They're not going to behave ethically because they felt that they're not empowered. The third one here is the attitude. So most of this unethical behavior of employees comes from this attitude. So poor attitude employees is due to low morale of the employees because probably, for example, may downsizing or dissatisfaction from the management. Probably they're not being recognized for their efforts. The second one here probably the absences of grievances or uh, systems about grievances or disciplines among other problems that employees may face. Lack of promotion and career development is also another reason why employees behave unethically because some are denied in profession promotions, some are or there is existing organizational politics. Another is lack of transparency. So there that most employees do not really have the information about what are the things that's happening inside the organization. Lack of lack or absence of recognition in our system. Or this one is poor working environments. So this main the attitude is the main reason why employees behave unethically. Now, poor attitudes of employees, no, ito yung nabanggit ko kanina, low morale, grievances, lack of promotion, ayan. So what are the types of inquiries in solving ethical problems? Now, we are dealing here ethical problems. We have normative inquiry, conceptual, and factual or descriptive inquiry. So these three inquiries are into solving ethical problems. So if we are to encounter ethical problems, there are different ways to solve this. Not all ethical problems are solved in one approach alone. So these are the three, and they have differences. The first one is in normative inquiry. It seeks to identify and justify the morally desirable norms or standards that should guide individuals or groups. So here, theoretically, it must justify a particular moral judgments. So normative questions or normative problems in this or ethical problems in normative inquiry are examples are, for example, how far does the obligation of a professional to protect public safety. That's normative inquiry. How what are the dangers of whistleblowing to a particular employee? Why and when is the government justified in interfering the organization? What are the reasons on which professionals show their obligations to employees or clients or the public? So normative inquiry mainly has something to do with what we call morally desirable norms or standards. Nakafocus po siya sa standards. Ang gina-justify natin dito ay ito bang mga morally desirable norms na to is present sa mga individuals or groups. So for example, kung tayo ay mga safety engineers, okay? Kapag ikaw ba ay safety engineer, gaano ka lawak yung obligasyon mo to protect the environment, okay? So if you're engineer as a standard or morally desirable norms or standards, if a safety engineer is expected by the society to protect the welfare of those who are into a particular structure, then you justify natin na yung actions niya ay dapat pasok dun sa standards na yun. Pag sinabi natin conceptual inquiry, it is directive to clarify the meaning of concepts or ideas or principles that are expressed by words or by actions in statement. Okay, ulit natin. Pag sinabi natin conceptual inquiry, it is to clarify the concepts or ideas. Okay, so it's not in normative that we base or we make judgment from the morally desirable norms. In conceptual inquiry, the examples of the questions here are what is meant by safety, or how is safety related to risk, what is bribery, what is profession. So laging tinitingnan natin kung anong meaning ng mga konsepto. Okay? When moral concepts are discussed, i-connect natin ngayon ang normative issues. So, halimbawa, if you are asking what is meant by bribe, no? Ano ang nakikita natin? So if we define bribe, for example, we have definition of bribe na, i-connect natin siya into normative inquiry. Like, for example, who are our public officials or government officials do some actions related to bribery. Okay, so if public officials are not meant or as standards according to their code should not be involved in bribery, why are they into, or why are some of the public officials are into bribery? Okay, so we connect out from our concept, we connect these concepts into normative issues. Okay, and pag sinabi nating factual or descriptive inquiry, the aim of this inquiry is to obtain facts needed for us to understand and resolve values issues. So mayroon pong kinalaman sa pagsusolve ng values issues. So most of researchers conduct factual inquiries using mathematical or statistical techniques. Okay? So kaya po siya descriptive inquiry. They're trying to describe but by the use of mathematical and statistical techniques. So most of the yung mga researchers na into like for example measuring the behavior of aviators who are into na yung kanilang behavior ay meron into bribery. Okay? So dinidescribe natin based on factual inquiries yung understanding this values issue or value issues na to, katulad ng bribery or related to honesty and integrity kasi ang bribery, no, or ano pa yung mga values related to bribery. So this inquiry provide information most on business realities and practicing professions such as engineers or in professional societies, which the effectiveness of this inquiry, makikita kung paano yung kung ano yung facts related doon sa description natin doon sa inquiry natin. So dito, no, the facts provide not only reasons for moral problems but also enable us to develop alternative ways of resolving moral issues. So halimbawa, no, kaya nga po ginagamit itong mga researchers ng factual or descriptive inquiry. Kasi una, yung inquiries nila ay base sa kung ano yung na-observe sa society. For example, they're going to assess how the level of bribery in government officials. Okay? So ngayon meron silang survey, magkaroon ng interview, then malalaman nila kung bakit merong ganitong klase ng unethical na gawain or behavior sa mga government employees and try to resolve these particular value issues. Okay? So, ito po yung mga paraan kung paano tayo mag-solve ng ethical problems. Now, we have what we call the moral dilemma. Okay? This is topic number 4. Moral dilemma. Dilemmas are situations in which moral reasons come into conflict. Okay? Yung moral reasoning natin ay nagkakaroon ng nalilito tayo kung alin sa kanila ang mas tama of or in which the application of moral values and our problems and one is not clear on the immediate choice or solution of the problems. So if we have a specific problem and then we have choices on how these problems will be solved, the dilemma or the problem of choosing what is the moral reasons to solve a particular or moral solution to a particular problem. So for example, you have to meet someone, your friend, okay? So you are going to meet him or her and have a dine with her or him. But you have to help your father or uncle who is involved in an accident. So, alin doon ang mas priority natin? Okay? Both of them is important to you, are important to you pala. So, ngayon, nagkakaroon ka na ngayon ng dilemma kung paano mo ma-fix yung priority. That's the problem. Okay? So, in these difficult situations or some of the difficult situations that comes into dilemma, no? Or nagiging nagkakantay ng moral dilemma, no? Una, let's check the vagueness of the problem. Most of people, they are unable to distinguish between good and bad. Okay? So, or good and bad principle or right or wrong principle. So, if we say good means our action is obligatory. So, for example, Code of Ethics specifies that one should obey the law and follow standards. So, if that is good, then you follow. Okay. The problem of vagueness here is that a person doesn't or unable to determine if his action is good or bad or right or wrong. Okay, kaya nagkakaroon ng dilemma. So if you are 18 years old and above or probably if meron ka ng muwang, no, mayroon ka ng level of the level of determining that you can or meron kang kakayahan to determine whether what your actions are wrong or right. Okay? So, pangalawang problem natin dito no sa moral dilemma is that yung reasoning natin. Okay? So, for example, kanina yung sinabi natin, if you are to find or you have to meet your friend or help your uncle, no? There is a conflicting reasons. So you are unable to choose two good moral solutions. Dun sa first one, dun sa vagueness natin, the problem of vagueness is that kaya ka nagkakaroon ng moral dilemma, hindi mo alam kung tama ba or mali yung gagawin mo. Okay? Pero kung ikaw ay grown up na, pag meron ka ng muwang, alam mo na dapat kung ano tama mali. Madalas, sa moral dilemma, no, doon sa conflicting reasons. Okay, dito sa pagtulong mo sa tito mo or sa pagpunta mo sa friend mo. Alin na mas priority mo? And the third one here is the problem of disagreement, kung saan you may have two or more solutions in a particular problem, but none of them is mandatory. No? Ang yung solution natin may be better or worse in some respects, but not all aspects. No? So dito, kailangan mo ng malalim na pag-iisip, moral reasons, analyze and rank the decisions, select the best suitable alternatives or actions, and then check the most probable conditions. Ayan. So we have steps on moral dilemma actually, but I'm not going to discuss na ito kasi pwede magkakaiba naman tayo ng ways kung paano natin face yung dilemma natin. So I'm going to skip this and discuss the moral autonomy. Moral autonomy po is defined as decisions and actions exercised on the basis of moral concern for other people and recognition of good moral reasons. So here, sa moral autonomy, a person exercise or yung decision natin and actions natin is based on our moral concern for other people, of which kino-consider natin yung recognition ng good moral reasons. Okay? Kumbaga nagiging self-determinant or independent tayo. Walang nag-uutos sa atin or nagdidikta sa atin doon sa kung tama ba yung or nagdidikta sa atin kung anong dapat natin gawin. Ito po, it is a skill and habit of thinking rationally about ethical issues on the basis of moral concern. So naka-focus po ito doon sa concern natin. Okay? Kaya po ito moral autonomy, no? Meron ka kasing kakayahan, no, to think rationally. If we're going to think rationally, you weigh the consequences of your action, and meron kang paraan, no, ethical as a scientific way of solving a particular ethical issues. So most of the autonomy, okay, dito kasi importante yung ating mga skills, no? Una, proficiency. If you are proficient in recognizing moral problems, no, and if you have the ability to distinguish yung mga problems na to, okay, malamang mas madali sa iyo ang mag-decide at gumawa ng actions base sa moral concern natin para sa ikabubuti ng society, ng sarili mo at ng iba. So, pangalawa, una, sabi natin kanina, dapat may proficiency tayo in recognizing moral problems, no? Pangalawa, kailangan meron tayong skills. So, dito, skills of understanding or comprehending or skills in clarifying yung mga tinatawag nating mga arguments, no, in terms of moral issues. Pag moral autonomy, kaya po minsan, no, pag bata pa, yung medyo hindi pa ganun ka-matured yung pag-iisip, kailangan may guidance pa yan. No, meron pang mga guardian or yung parents na hindi man nagdidikta pero gina-guide yung kanyang decision making or yung action towards a particular moral problems. So, halimbawa, no, kung teenager yung kausap natin at ang issue ay about bullying, hindi pa siya ganun ka-proficient to distinguish or to recognize this as a moral problem. Okay? So, tayo bilang mga professionals in practicing our profession, we have already this what we call moral autonomy, kung saan hindi naman sa super proficient, no, pero you recognize moral problems and you distinguish it as the problems in different field like in law, economics, or religion. Pangalawa is the skills nga. Sabi ko, may kakayahan ba tayong maintindihan, ma-clarify, or we assess these arguments as moral issues. No, for example, if we're going to classify these issues as micro or macro ethics, no, it's our skills, no, like for example, if that is bullying to someone, then pasok yun sa microethics. If that is about the sexual orientation of a particular group, then we can probably have the skill that we can assess that it is moral issues on broader group or in macro ethics. And we have the ability to form as our own viewpoints. Pero itong viewpoints natin na to ay based on facts. Okay? So, hindi ito yung kuro-kuro lamang or hindi binabase sa katotohanan. Yung mga sarili nating pananaw, okay? Because it is our own opinion most of the time. It doesn't always to be the right opinions, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na gano'n, yung majority opinion ay nagiging yun yung kino-consider na tama. Pag kokonti lang kayo na may ganitong klase ng opinion, kumbaga, 'di ba, parang what is generally accepted na positive opinions ay yung mga yung nakakarami. Okay? But, of course, in moral autonomy, you have the ability to create or perform consistent viewpoints, pero base sa katotohanan or sa facts. And then we have the awareness of alternative responses to issues and creative solutions for practical difficulties. In moral autonomy, uh, you're aware na that you have to create solutions for different moral problems. Okay. So, halimbawa, no, if I am facing a particular moral issue such as I am being bullied, I have I am aware that I can create possible solutions for me to address bullying. Okay? Kung ang isang bata na hindi pa matured, okay, yung moral autonomy is not totally present because if he is being bullied, he cries probably or magsusumbong yan sa parent niya. Kasi wala pa siyang kakayahan masyado to have his own solution to particular moral problems. But some do have their ways, no? Like for example, if we are being bullied, you fight back. Okay? You decided already to fight back, like, the way you do it is like you punch a person who bully you. But of course, that's yung kukonsider natin yung action ng bata na nag-fight back, na sinuntok niya yung kanyang kalaro na nambully sa kanya is not a good thing to do. Okay? So, minsan pinapagalitan tayo, bakit mo sinuntok? Dapat sinumbong mo kay teacher. Yung mga ganon. Okay? So, there are skills that we need to have, no? In order for us, no, na tayo bilang mga professionals na, yung kakayahan natin or exhibiting our moral autonomy ay magbabase sa skills na meron tayo. Now, here po, importante lang na maintindihan natin itong dalawang theory about moral development. Kailan po nagsisimula na magkaroon tayo ng or nade-develop yung morality sa atin? Meron pong dalawang theory. The first one is Kohlberg's theory at yung second na is Gilligan's theory. Okay, makita po natin yung pagkakaiba nila mamaya. Now, kay Kohlberg po, si Kohlberg po ay behaviorist. Tama ba ako yung term behaviorist? Siya po ay ang author ng moral development. Yan. So, meron siyang mga suggestions or dun sa kanyang theory, meron siyang tinatawag na pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional. Kung saan dito, ginugrupo niya ang isang individual sa kung paano yung moral development sa kanyang type of reasoning. Okay? So, kung paano siya magbigay ng dahilan or ng rason. Okay? So, dito, sa pre-conventional level, ayon kay Kohlberg, no, ang isang tao, depende sa kanyang conduct. Okay? Kung saan meron siyang it directly benefits oneself. So, ayon kay Kohlberg, yung mga children ay nasa pre-conventional level yung kanilang moral reasoning. Like for example, you're doing good because you will be rewarded, and you are not doing bad things because you will be punished. Okay? So, halimbawa, no, kung ako yung nanay, huwag kang Huwag mong gagawin ito pag ginawa mo yun, palo kita. So that's an example of pre-conventional level reasoning. Okay, sabi ni Kohlberg, malaman mong moral development ng isang tao depende sa kanyang reasoning. Pangalawang level naman, ayon kay Kohlberg, yung conventional level kung saan meron ng respeto ang isang tao sa law and authority. So, yung mga rules and norms ng isang individual or ng mga grupo or ng isang society is accepted. So, tinatawag natin ito yung standard of morality. So, halimbawa, no, kapag nag-asawa ka pa at the age of 16 years old, this is the norms of society is that you are too young to get married. Okay. So, there are in conventional level, we are checking here the norms existing or the rules existing in society. So yung law at saka yung norms. Okay? So individuals in this level want to please or satisfy and get approval sa grupo or sa society natin and meet the expectation of the society. Rather than meron yung self-interest. Like for example, consider ka na good boy or good girl. Okay? Kung doon sa pre-conventional. Dito naman sa conventional level, ang isang tao gumagawa siya ng mabuti or gumagawa siya, sumusunod siya sa batas kasi para ma-meet niya standards ng society. So, maraming mga adults ang hindi nakakarating sa conventional level. Okay? Minsan hanggang pre-conventional lang. Pangatlo ay yung post-conventional kung saan dito, autonomous ang isang tao. Pag sinabi mong autonomous na, a person think originally and want to live by universally good principles and welfares of others. So you're not following na the rules set by you're not actually not following it. You are not bounded by your actions, your conduct is not bounded or are not bounded by the rules set by society. You are now living by your own conscience. You follow the golden rule, do not do unto others, no, as what you don't want to do unto them. You maintain yung tinatawag nating moral integrity, you have self-respect and respect for others. So here po, si Kohlberg, naniniwala siya that individuals can only progress through the stages, no, one at a time. No? Pwede nating base din sa edad at sa the way we reason out. So, ayon kay Kohlberg, no, yung ating moral development it occurs to our social interaction. Yan. Ayon naman po kay Gilligan, no, si Gilligan, ang kanyang pangalan po ay si Carol. Si Gilligan po, sabi niya, yung theory ni Kohlberg ay parang strong male bias na. Si Gilligan po, sa kanyang study, no, men had the tendency to solve problems by applying abstract and moral principles. Iba siya sa mga women, no? Ang mga men, ayon kay Carol, resolve moral dilemma by choosing most important moral rule, no? Ino-override yung mga ibang rules. So in contrast, ang mga babae daw gave importance to preserve personal relationship with all the people involved. So, kumbaga, ang orientation sa Gilligan's theory is that meron tayong tinatawag na ethics of care, no? Sa mga lalaki, ethics of rules and rights. Kay Gilligan's theory, ethics of care, kung saan meron, kumbaga si Gilligan, ni-revise niya yung theory ni Kohlberg kung saan merong stage of growth towards ethics of caring. So kapag pre-conventional level, katulad din po nung kay Kohlberg, pero dito, yung right conduct natin is viewed in a selfish manner, solely, kumbaga nakafocus sa sarili mo, yung good for yourself lamang. Diba? So, halimbawa, no, ang isang bata, kapag ginagawa niya ang isang bagay, parang magkaroon siya ng sarili niyang reward. So, gumagawa ka ng tama para mabigyan ka ng reward. Okay? So, the second level naman, sa conventional level, the important here is not to hurt other people. You're willing to sacrifice your own interest to help other people. Kung saan, di ba doon kay Kohlberg, you are following the rules para ma-meet mo yung expectation ng society. Ginagawa mo yung mga bagay na kung ano yung ine-expect sa'yo ng society natin. Kay Gilligan, na, sa kanya yung the idea of not to hurt other people. So this is the most of the characteristics of women. Sa post-conventional level naman, a reasoned balance is found that caring and others pursuing self-interest. So, kung kay Kohlberg, meron ka na, you have no self-interest. Okay? You are living by your principles. In Gilligan's, you need to balance your own need and the needs of others, of which you aim to maintain a particular relationship, being what you call mutual caring. Okay? So, sa Gilligan's theory, napaka-importante nung meron tayong mutual caring sa post-conventional theory. Ito po yung kaibahan niyan. Kohlberg base sa men and women. Sa Kohlberg, men give importance to moral rule. Kay Carol, always want to keep personal relationship with all persons involved in situation. Ethics of rules, sa kanya naman, ethics, context-oriented and ethics of care. So, women gives attention to circumstances leading to critical situations rather than rules. Yan. Kapag characteristic features, ito po yung kaibahan nila. Strict rules, future focus. Ayan. But probably we can say that hindi naman po lahat ng women ay ganito yung moral development. Ganun din ang men. There are some men that you can makikita natin sa kanila yung women characteristics. There are men who are emotional, there are men who have impacts on relationship. Probably mas marami nga lang na men, no? Okay. So this differences kay Kohlberg at saka kay Gilligan's theory about moral development, no? Na kung mababasa niyo po yung Heinz Dilemma, si Heinz Dilemma po ay ito po ay sobrang kilalang example ng moral dilemma. Kung saan si Heinz po ay isang mahirap na tao na maraming utang, and he couldn't buy medicine for his sick wife. Ayan. So, yung gamot sa kanyang asawa ay 10 times na mas mahal sa normal na presyo. So, initially, si Heinz, he begged a pharmacist to sell yung half the price ng gamot or allow him to pay it later. Pero the pharmacist refused to either the two ways na or means ng pagbabayad ni Heinz. Finally, he forcibly entered the pharmacy and stole the drug. Okay, so this famous or well-known dilemma or Heinz dilemma, according kay Kohlberg, no, men observed that a thief was or doing this robbing or pagnanakaw ay morally wrong sa conventional level, sa batas, masama yun. Because the property right was being violated. Okay. But men at the most post-conventional level, no? Conclude, no, yung mga tao na naniniwala dun sa post-conventional level na tama lang yung ginawang pagnanakaw ni Heinz kasi naka at stake yung buhay ng asawa niya. Pero na-observe ng mga babae, no, yung si Heinz ay wrong, no? So stealing is instead of stealing, no, he could have tried na other solutions by threatening or payment installments, no, to convince the pharmacies. However, no, decisions made by women are not on the basis of rules, rank, and order of priority. So, madalas po talaga mas ina-accept yung kay Kohlbergs. Yan. Next, we have what we call this? Consensus and controversy. Last part po ng dating discussion. So, dito, pag sinabi mo consensus, this is ito po may kinalaman pa rin po sa moral autonomy. Pag sinabi mong consensus po, it has something to do with the agreement. No? Laging yung pagkakasundo-sundo. Pag controversy, it has something to do or it means conflict or disagreement. Now, how in exercising moral autonomy, no, hindi lahat ay nagkakaroon ng positive results in dealing with or having this what we call moral autonomy. Kumbaga, at the end, most of the situations kapag meron tayong exercising moral autonomy ay nagkakaroon ng conflict or controversy. So in this case, if we have these people around us na merong moral autonomy, we need to have good tolerance among these individuals who are autonomous. Okay. Pangalawa, yung tolerance in their attitude, no? Pangalawa doon sa kailangan being reasonable and responsibility, kailangan po ito. So this not mean that we force ourselves to reach unique moral solutions. Many reasonable resolutions are possible sa problema natin sa disagreement. Okay. Given dapat yung kung meron tayong ethical problems, no? So madalas kailangan nating ma-realize the importance of tolerance among people who are autonomous, no? In case of disagreement, kailangan magkaroon pa rin ng kasunduan, magkaroon pa rin ng consensus. Magkakaiba tayo ng pananaw, magkakaiba ng mga ideas, beliefs, and one may not be, he don't want to be under the authority of other people or ayaw niya nasasakupan kasi meron nga siyang sariling konsepto, pananaw at mga pamamaraan. So how are we going to deal with this is that at least try to solve these issues in ethical ways, no? That we are avoiding conflicts. Yan po. So that ends up our first part ng professional ethics. I hope that you have learned from this topic and we're going to continue next meeting sa next topic na professions and defining profession, professionals, and others na may kinalaman pa rin po sa professional ethics. And that's all po. Have a good night or have a good day, everybody. God bless po.